Climate change is a threat to humanity and the species around us. The weather patterns and temperatures are constantly changing. All this results to low yields, floods, heat waves, and wildfires. Binga, a district on the southeastern shore of Lake Kariba in the province of Matabeleland, North Zimbabwe. It is well known for its rich Badonga culture, the beach, and the springs. Climate change is a global challenge that affects the livelihoods of millions of people, especially those who depend on agriculture. Binga is one of the districts in Zimbabwe which is prone to droughts and is affected heavily by climate change. Small grains such as sorghum and millet are important crops as they are more resilient to harsh weather conditions than maize.
Boli imbuto nini ziri mbuli nzembwe so tulazibye maezi tulazikanga kuli ba December tangu nakulima uno mbuli kubinga mbutulima nzembwe ambuka kuti tuli ku region 5 so kuno vere nzembwe zibanga zita obotu saka imvula isika kokuno ni mvula inche mbuli tuli ku region 5 so tuanonoka kulima kanzala yamu ataka mbobobya so tulangira kuti mbuli bantu bakubinga uno twachita early planting which tell to gonze ku harvester mboli ma subsistence farming so okuno tulama problems futhi akuthi mukubula luzibo nga ibantu baya kuchita konka kopela masamu bali kukoza njitwamba ni deforestation so kumana kwa munya kuzena kuti kwaba ma erosions ali kuchita masolo erosions ijo tunyamanzi ma blowings of wind so nkambuka nzizezi zili kutwetelezya nyamanzi ma low yields so wano chali kukonzeka abantu baba luzibo lwakuti bakonziye ku avoid ama deforestations and omwe ama field fires because my field fires allow ku lead into drought so ngazi yakuphambanisa even futhi mu field fires ibusi obya na uti smoke area ngaya kuchita global warming mamali no pasikuchana nyamanzi climate yesu iri mu kuchincha manzi asikuba mache so bantu hano libaziba baba koncha kuchincha nyamanzi baba baluzibulwa kuti imisamu tabano chiti chigonke pe anto mwa kuchita kutenta kupela soke ne bayabwenda bayimbaita chakuti bayabofepo walosya poporia olya wasikutenta igundu so silibobya ito twasilegezya tukonze kuti muntu wabona kuti nawo chinsitombwe wakwe wazima pabwino timpumusere waenda kalwa mekashwa kuti iporia wakwe tuchilight pe without ilubono lesu survive and umani to survive mbuli ibantu bakubinga uno ibapona amanyamanzi ama small grains aya.
Village heads are the leaders of their communities and have the responsibility to ensure the well-being and sustainability of their people and environment. They play a vital role in addressing climate change issues by implementing adaptation and mitigation measures, raising awareness and education, and facilitating participation and collaboration among stakeholders.
Umuntu lagatazya setatu zumi ndimpe muna utembu wamba pe tatiandi pe wabantu kupela bakitazya bonzira
anaba batima masamu tazumi zigupe masamu kugonka ikutema kunza kuti wayanda indawo yako yanda kulima takwe munda mwenzu ngupegwa ipress inja yanda kupegwa wagonka okandawo na gonka tachikwambi pempa chigonka masamu pawo nobweza katola kungandawe
ndamva kuti climate change yendirana azintu nzituli kukhala nkatuchita nzituvisya lwesu kana kuti nzitulolamika lwesu example ngati yokwende tioputema misamu mwangu wabugonka misamu iyo ndawo yobusyala nkiyobutini kiyobu background lwasika luwo lulama nguzo kana kuti nkambizi nkaka banguzo mpati kaunta kavopola akasika makati kamumuzi kalabweza karuroro mazinga uronyama zinga ziyako juru zonke tulidoro dotova kujuru mukamboka kuti kajana kuti ndi ground koto kuti kajana misamu kasakona kulwana misamu manguzo ari trita nikagumane sigwa manguzo olo nikazonjira mumuzi nikayozwa hayi nziche zitali male nziche zitafwe nkamboka kuti nkambo imanguzo kamanina mumusamu so imisamu mbume weso imisamu nzi uti kwabirira kuntenda kuti kana mwana kambizi kana mubweza kamuwadira kusowe but asi kuti kamana manguzo amisamu takwepe mwana nayo jana ntenda so imisamu njo climate change njinda mbwisisisira kuti atusiye kuanzo bochita chigonke kugonka misamu kata kwencho kugonkera chipivere
Suma magubuntiga tamutala simuchichai titemuchana konka minsamu kama rusibota onala konkwipe sunu kutwa konka minsamu kwesa minsamu ago lubo uzikire awa kuchita kuti chunza uso konke lubo kuti kukonka wamanisia minsamu tachikwe chimbipe
mwendareka kupera swangu pativi omwe luwo na mumatwo muluwo luwo mumatwi lesatu kunitwako mwenzuma wesatu kunitwako kachigire mu soiduli pema sora ngarese kwa kuti kuyanda kuti uchige sora ingambotibwe sere mbugasi yawa ine mwenzuma inowasona ufambani kubiswa abachitofu kwakasika kama generator mwenzuma wabikoge wati tututututututu kwaula chana kuti wachiga bana bako bakuta ezi sirabu bizakuti mwana ulakonzi yakupya ingandera nzi yakuti watenta mwana oya po achana buyumuyumu kama kubuntika simwenzuma ane jana leta utinda gwero obo tutikongira ndira bulaka leso nanga mana neno suma sinzi yakutibya kwiya takumani pe sunulumba kutwatambula luzibo kwesanku nisema mwenzuma twende kubala ko mweno ba climate change kwalumba ko twende mwenzuma kukwisisisa
izile tatuzumi zipe ichindu chiro kuchitankamba kuti ibantu tukuzwa mulizi mutu akazwomia bakali kuberesya inziziko zile ibapati bakatuzyala lino kwabulika itatu tagwe mali pe yakula zingola ingomba mmenda imwe awumula imwe mupondo tubabana tubikideka tulitu izya kuti tulimye ingolo twali kuzyanda ngolo kansinga kuti baleta ngolo balo kupa mubobo muntu nkabona lo kubadala niunga nkabotu.
A week conducted a climate change awareness campaign amongst the people in Lubimbi. During the campaign, they shared their experiences of rainfall patterns from the 1980s to date and how they have changed over time.
The amount of rainfall received currently is lower than the amount of rainfall that was being received some years back, maybe some 2 decades ago. As well as the onset of rainfall, the rainy season is becoming shorter and erratic. We no longer have rains from the month of October up to the month of March, but now the rains are starting a little bit late. That is basically from mid-November or sometimes December, or even sometimes from January. And the amounts of rainfall that is received is lower than expected amounts of rainfall, as well as the period of the rains is becoming shorter. The wet season is becoming shorter as in terms of the months or the time or the duration of the onset and maybe the end of the rain season. Maybe if we also look at temperatures are also increasingly becoming higher in terms of the intensity. It used to be maybe a little bit cooler, but these days, even during winter, it's becoming more water.
Minda imina kwa mbula izi ya uchitika uma 90s. Nuba uti ya nimenda kazo zira uma 90s leka tiyobuto. Pesi ndira mbanzi zitu wali kumfuka. Ndiko zitu onse ntoka kula tu wali kalabasi ya nene bautu ambila ta. Muma mnyaga ili bobu wanonga kulimvula ili so. Mnyaga ili songa. Sonzi onze ta presente kamba nimezi minda kachiri munini. Imise ndakali wopi ape. so mbuli mukumva nkuti wakamva wateva mu 92 kwakali nzala yakaliwo, so it's like in opposite yali kwambwa apriti uli ndisote wa ma 90s. Ichindi wateka pali kulima yama izilimwa zilamfu zimbuli nzembwe zilamfu, but sikwentoba ma 90s uzwa ma 90s zitwa chikulima nzembwe ndamfu pekamboke mvula batitwa kulima nzembwe imfu vinji bati tudigita imfwi inge ya jelawa ya zyala kale nzembwe kambuka kubulika kwemvula mbochi uzwa ma 90s awa imulonga mbulingo mulonga uchangale oyo walonga tizwa kali kupya kali linamu, so wajulu kukunsia manzi kata kwemvula ya wape bantu wanwenga bayi kuteka manzi akabaye uchitaye kabaye kulima mumbala mulonga kabaye uchitaye ncherera iye green imbuli zipopwe bali kulima bauzabe obuzya empunga mulilo bide mpo imvula inonga irafuka mbana kuwa ikuzwa muri ba October yanonga mvula yawa kuzosika muri ba May aya mpunga wa mvula yanje bateka mbeteka nchura mpeo mbeteka ninyama imvula iria inonga yawa muri ba May, so kuma 90s imvula yakali kuwa yosika udatalikira ba 2000 yanongera wakuzwa uli October yosika mulini muli ba May kichiwa, but pesino jasiyana zyelino ziziliwozi sekonjira diploma mbono ndakwezera abantu ba 2000 izinto zyabo
zyakakazika ezi tikumakazikira kuma 1980 awa tetwa kana kukubona ndabata kwenchitwa ezi ichipa kutegwa emuntu akubone nkuziba kuti kata kwenola aluzibo virenga takwenchobwene ufanana muntu uchipofu, so awo mukuya kuyobuya wezintu injoyo zyakali kuboneka kuti kati imvula tichiwi mbulimbu yakali kuwa ntwakalampa swebo imvula yakali kuwa kwa kuti kufumbwa ezilongo kwasika chindi chakulima kuti wategwa ntwakali kuganga iyo place njo aganga uloloka ulalia uzojana kufuti next season koli kulia chiriyo njo akagankide njo akalimida abana but sunu tachekwe imvula ngambita uzojana imwita omuchira utegwa ichiyobowa neteni chitira musana yamana tichiomvula taichiomvula ne tuchiziraza ilaza yinka mwinkira po kwa kazi kako ba mapenzi ya njira nzara.
Climate change, who has cast a spell on the earth. Temperatures are unrealistically rising. People and animals are likely dying. Droughts and famines becoming a normality. Inheritance is becoming dust in our hands. Floods, good grief, who has cast a spell on the earth. Climate change, the whole world is turmoil, crying of climate change. But we are the cause of climate change. Deforestation, poor farming systems, land degradation, and wildfires. The list is long. We have cast a spell on ourselves. We have brought about climate change. Climate change, the spell cast on our earth. We hold the power to stop it. We have the solutions. Reforestate our lost trees. Stay away from unfriendly environmental practices. Hear me please. Recycle the recyclables. Use solar panels wherever possible. Take heed of early warning systems. Climate change. We can fight against it and make our earth a friendly one. Thank you.
Some of the traditional ways of doing things are contributing to climate change. For example, deforestation, which reduces the absorption of carbon dioxide and the release of oxygen.
Yes. I might say some of the major factor that is contributing towards the climate change in Binga is basically deforestation, the cutting down of trees randomly and uncontrollably. Most of the local people, the local farmers who are here, the local residents of Binga, they rely on trees mostly maybe for fencing purposes, for energy, that is for firewood, for cooking purposes, for maybe gardens, as well as maybe sometimes they even make their fences around their homestead using poles, that is they are cutting down the trees. And being that the rate of which those trees are being cut is just higher and abnormal. When I arrived here sometime around 2015, we used to have firewood very close by from where we were staying, but right now we are now buying firewood to use, and those people, they are going more like 7 to 8 kilometers to look for those firewood. When they come and they sell the firewood to us, mean to say that there are no longer trees that are maybe locally close by, and the bigger trees are the ones that are mostly being cut down by the residents of Binga. They don't have the electricity, they don't have any other source of maybe energy to use, and they also don't have the alternative maybe poles to use, since maybe some of these poles, the steel poles, they might require a lot of money, which the local residents doesn't have.
On climate change, we also educate youth or advise some youth that they should desist to use some old ways which were used by our elders. For example, like pulling of the sledge, cutting down of trees, and the killing animals randomly. Because the moment we use these old ways like sledge instead of scorch cut, we will be causing some land degradation. Then we end up having some gullies, which will be a problem.
The other challenge that we have is of maybe clearing land for farming and poor methods of farming that might also add on to the climate change impacts. Maybe if people are also being taught about the good farming methods, like maybe currently the Fumvudza thing, it might also reduce the rate of maybe climate change causes in the locality of Binga.
What can we do as Binga community to curb climate change? This is what they said.
So litwalega logo futi kulima tulafranka mbwa tizoyetu kudependa kulima kukoko mbulima subsistence farming alubo futi tulapona ashakuvuba nzizezia. So ikutia balobanya mafuti wedeko nanzera kuti ilubono lwavula logo pongozi yako siya kuti 80 to 100 ogya labona kuti vyapanga overgrazing. So overgrazing ila futi ngayaku pambanisia nyamazi climate change yeso kambwa tima transpiration ngatashi take place pe. So no echayi chibodu chakuti abantu bananzerera kuti eni kwaba ma paddock akuti ilubono lweswa koncha kulubika ma paddocks yeso without overgrazing ibelo ngana kuti wabereka ya culling kuti umuntu wabona kuti ilubono lwake lwache alwasiga maybe kuliba 20 and below kuchitira kuti overgrazing itankiri anembope. So mbonanga ezilatu kwasya kuti climate yeso ibanga ikedekiri ngiri normal kambota babobi avile climate yeso ili ku increase logo after years ili ku increase anembo. Twakubona kuti twa reduce ambulima subsistence farmer bakubinga zilakonja kutugwasya kuno yabuyisyanya abami kuti babe always ukuthi twete kuti tupone biyeni kuita kuti climate yeso itanyanyi kupambanika loko. I think mubufifi bonanga kuti twa practice ya muskoboli bobo zilatugwasya.
Kuti tujane mvula mbuli mbutu wakali kujana nsiku ezio tatukozi konja twazichincha pe twazilumelamika but pesi lwesu isweru wesu ni zitu konja kuchita ndibonanga ziyari chuba kuti twakonja kusia kambo imanzi mbumi beside manzi tachiwope chiyopa yes isi araja kutuabirese in wrong way kutuajena mulongo wamba kunjira mu manzi arakuja 3 seconds unorwafa but asiwo manzi mbumi ngaherede kukala nto omwe abantu imanzi mabo tuloko nkambo mbovu mitachiwope chiyoba kana green itakabe kata kwe manzi so imanzi ngayandikane kana kuti tuchite tudamu tochita tudamu twesu ninge inkamvula irya but mutudamu omwe mutatichite tura kusurvive turalima tusyu turalima tunyamai amutu nogweza tirira tusamasamu twesu ikuti example ma mangoes, pawpaws, guavas, lemons zonke zya misamo itugwasi absolutely. So mpahali andiwananga njenjo patikuwa kuti imvula ikawe tuteti iwe mvula ai isizi tatikozi konja pesho kambo tatuzizi mbivu isigwa.
And then ima MPs lawa uma siwadobha ekwane kumbeni ithani siyakwanisa ukuba naso kunekuthanela abanye bethu esisebenza nabo and then bebuye bezothatha imoto yabo ngiyamahara bethwala lama empty bahamba bayadayisa selithola imali yethu and then ama empties lawa akhona ubana ayenza into ezinjengabo like izinto nje zokucecisa khonke kumbeni balungise amabhiza ukaba kudayisa esitaradeni esikuthenga siyacecisa into ezinjengazena lezo and then kwese kubuya izivalo lezi bakwanisa ukubana bezilungisa futhi benze imigane nale yamarabha yena lesibuya njalo siyithenge nale kuyakwanisa ukhona kusincedise into lezi ngenxa ubana asilalwazi shortage of knowledge siyalahla indawo zonke kodwa izinto ezibuya zisincedise empilweni zethu ngoba into lezi yasingelalwazi sisitshela ukuthi khona izinto nje ezingasebenziyo kodwa into ezibuya zisincedise njengathi khona lapha siyakwanisa uba sikudobha lifoma ama-groups siyakudobha kwizidolophu uma sikudobha even okwabo upahla emunkokha kuyasebenza into eziningi esizitshela ukuthi izinto yidoti but ayisodoti ngenxa yokungabi lolwazi sithi yidoti.
I might say to our young generation, the future generation and the future maybe resources are in their hands. As we say that we need sustainability. Sustainability being the sense that what you are using today should also be used by the future generations to come. So if you are also going, if the youth are also going to impact on this reducing the effects of climate change, it's gonna help them as well as help the future generation. So it's very good that we teach them even at school. Now maybe our school syllabi has got concept to do with the climate change, adaptation, mitigation measures, mitigation methods and the like. Those things, if they are really implemented and if they will be also enforced by the local leaders as well as you, the partners who are also coming to teach, I think it's a better way of information dissemination. But sometimes where the weakness becomes is when people are being taught something, are they implementing it? Is it becoming real or in reality? Sometimes there's no follow-up, there's no evaluation, there's no feedback. So basically the youth will need someone who's also maybe taking a leading role, then being maybe the custodians of the resources. They should be the ones who are also bearing that beacon of climate change adaptability as well as mitigation, so that they are able in the future to have or to reduce the impacts which are maybe being experienced currently due to climate change. We might encourage them, the youth, to have youth groups that are also focusing on educating the elderly, educating the other young ones coming up. They might have projects that are also have to do with reducing the impacts of climate change. They might also be engaged maybe in some other activities that are environmentally friendly, that will also cause them to have money. As of now, you are looking maybe at mining, and a lot of maybe our youths are engaged in poor methods of mining that they are doing. But if we are going to involve our youths in other projects that might not cause them to cause deforestation, such as maybe we are looking at beehives, we are also looking maybe at activities such as maybe those woodlots that I'm talking about, maybe timber production, we're talking maybe for solarization. The youths must be engaged in those activities to reduce these impacts of of climate change. It's not only about maybe farming, it's not only about cutting down trees that might allow them to have some income, but we have got other projects that are environmentally friendly that will also reduce them to rely basically on trees, but rather have a focus of protecting those trees and using them to utilize them to their advantage.
Climate change is not a problem that an individual or one country can solve. It requires collective action, a shared sense of responsibility, and a commitment to make the necessary changes.